G'day folks, Connor here from CW's Tech Reviews, back with another video, and today we're doing a quick video. You know, I recently bought my very first gimbal. Are gimbals worth it? We're going to find out today. So without further ado, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and let's get stuck into my video. Let's go. Now today is just a bunch of random shots from a day out at the park. Half of the shots I did with the gimbal, the other half I did just with a mini Manfrotto tripod, the little Pixie one, because I was interested to see, was this gimbal really going to make me be able to pull off some cinematic shots? And I think the answer is going to be, yeah, gimbals are worth it, but you can do some pretty cool stuff with a tripod and your normal camera. Now for this test, I was using the Canon M50 and I had image stabilization turned off. I was purely using the gimbal and the tripod for these movements. Now I should put a little disclaimer out there. There's three types of people, in my opinion, that are filming video. Amateur, paraprofessional or semi-professional, and professional. And where do I sit? Somewhere below amateur. So you got to bear that in mind while I do these videos and talk to you about the quality of the footage. So one of the first clips I did was me holding the gimbal out in front of me, or the tripod running, and as you can see, I run at the same speed in both videos, and the footage is definitely better with the gimbal. So we got no stabilization on the left and stabilization on the right, and you can certainly see that the stabilized footage is smoother. It's not cropped in, it's just nice and smooth, and I'm running at the same speed. So definitely image stabilization works from that point of view, just handheld vlog style running. The next shot was a bit of a pan and a tilt. So I panned along the playground equipment and up through to the shade cloth above. And I don't think there's too much difference here with that panning and tilting. So I panned from left to right and then bottom to top up over to the shade cloth. Yes, it is definitely still a little bit shaky in the image where I'm using the tripod with no gimbal. And it would definitely be harder to see the difference in the footage between the no gimbal and the gimbal. Now one thing I definitely want to point out is I was filming all this at 1080p 60 frames per second. And I did that so I could give myself a little bit more wiggle room. If the footage was too unstable, then I can slow it down, put in some slow motion, and all of a sudden it becomes usable. And that's what I did with this next clip. You can see here that this is one of those tricky shots to pull off. Tripod or gimbal, it still can be quite tricky. Someone's walking towards you, you've got your camera down near the ground, and you're walking backwards. Now I had this in autofocus, but you can imagine trying to do something like this with a shallow depth of field and trying to keep the focus in as well. So this was quite a tricky one. As you can see, they're walking towards me. The image on the left is a little bit shaky. As soon as I hit it in slow motion, both of them become usable. Bang, it goes back to normal speed, and it's a bit tricky to use again, and you're going to stick with the gimbal footage definitely. The next shot is another sort of pan shot where I'm going down a slide and panning at the same time as I'm going down, and then I get to the bottom. Again, not too much difference in the footage, and I think that's because it is a slow shot and I'm just moving down like this. Where I see the gimbal really excelling is in walking or running. That's where I see the real benefits of a gimbal coming into play. And here's another low shot where I'm low to the ground, I'm coming along, and then I swoop up higher and pan across and show everyone what's beyond the hill there. And you can actually see the footage really does slow down for the gimbal, and you can see it actually starts to look quite cinematic when compared to just the tripod and the camera itself. And I really do like how it offers that super smooth footage once you're just gliding along the ground and then lift up and pan through the sky, and that's where it starts to set itself apart. And here you can see another running shot. Again, running, it looks pretty shaky on the left hand side there with the tripod only, and the right hand side it's nice and smooth all the way around. But again, I slow it down in slow-mo and they both become almost usable, but the gimbal shot is definitely usable. Now here's a different one. Here's a tricky shot. This is of my daughter. She's standing still. The poor girl, she didn't want to be in the video, but I begged her and she said yes. And this is where I'm doing that shot where you spin around someone and they're the center of the subject. Now, the first shot, you can see that the tripod, it's a messy shot, it's shaky, it's unusable if you're going to use it in a production. On the right hand side, it's nice and slow and everything's cinematic. Then I slow it down, I put it in, it's 1080p 60 frames per second, and I slow it down by 50%. The left hand side, the tripod only, starts to become almost usable, and then the final shot, I actually slow it down in post with warp stabilization as well, and all of a sudden you've got an image that I think is actually usable. So that's not using the gimbal. Using the tripod, I think we've got a usable shot there, so that's something to think about. So you really can, if you've got the right movement and the right skill set, which is what I don't have, is the right skill set. But if you've got the right skill set, then you've got the right software, then you've got the right equipment, you can actually get some nice cinematic shots without having to use a gimbal. However, when I used the gimbal, it was also much easier and I could get the shot straight away. And I don't have to worry about using warp stabilizer later on when I'm editing. When you've got the gimbal, you're going to get the shot. Now this next shot I had fun with. I just held the camera out in front of me and I ran as fast as I could. And you can see on the right hand side, it's nice and smooth, it's usable footage. I showed my daughter and she actually thought I was on a skateboard or some form of wheels, but no, that's actually me running. Again, for this, I was using the Fieyu Tech A2000, so you can really see that stabilized footage, looks like you're rolling on wheels. Now, no stabilization with the tripod, the footage was unusable, but then I slowed it down in the editing and I used warp stabilizer. And it actually, if you just at first glance, it actually looks like it is usable, but as you can see, there's glitches, it's a little bit shaky, it's like going in and out of focus, and that's all due to the warp stabilization. I would say at first glance, it looks usable, but really, it wasn't usable. It was just that warp stabilization cropped in a little bit and tried to get rid of some of that shake, but nowhere near did it get rid of enough of it. And you'd probably use it, be fine for like a home video, but you wouldn't use it for anything else. Now, just to close it off there, there's some other shots of me going down a hill and then back up a hill, and you can really see that the gimbal just is miles ahead. Now, the right person with a stabilizer and not a gimbal, or the right person with a tripod, or a right person with really good skill set can definitely get a good shot and doesn't have to rely on this technology. But someone like me, definitely I need to use that technology to get that cinematic shot, and I'll be able to start putting them into my videos. So, is a gimbal worth it? I would say yes, it is definitely worth it, especially these days. I mean, the Fieyu Tech A2000 is coming in at around 500 bucks Australian. You could probably pick it up a lot cheaper anywhere else in the world. So for me, that entry-level price gives you that footage that is really unbeatable. And the days are long gone where you might have to spend $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 on a gimbal. 500 bucks, you're in the market, you got some cinematic shots. Don't forget guys, hit that like button and the subscribe button if you enjoyed this video. I really appreciate you stopping by the channel to watch, and I'll be back with some more videos just like this. If you've got any questions about the Fieyu Tech A2000 or anything else to do with what I do on this channel, hit me up in the comments below. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you in the next video. Check ya.